you to have some ideas about how to solve the sustainability problem, whether you are a practitioner or whether you are a researcher. At least you would have some idea, because as you know, we have been doing okay, like SDG or Millennium Goal or ESG, but the world doesn't seem to improve. It's become less and less sustainable, as we experience here in Thailand today. There is flooded in the north and in many provinces and all that. So these are all the result of, I would say, ineffective sustainability performance management. Okay, now, when we talk about sustainability performance management, right, it is a system. So any system needs to have a goal, an overarching goal. So for the sustainability performance management, the overarching goal is, to ensure sustainable well-being for all, including, of course, one owns company or one owns organization as well. Now, it is not the triple bottom line result that I think many of us have been measuring. You measure the environmental output, the carbon emission rate and all that. So those are just triple bottom line result, which is not the overarching goal of sustainable development. Okay, so sustainable development, what it is? It is indeed about ambidexterity. Traditionally, ambidexterity is a psychology term, meaning that you as an individual can use both your left-hand side and right-hand side effectively at the same time. So in the sustainable development context, it means that we can effectively manage the simultaneous and often conflicting demands among stakeholders effectively. So that is what we call ambidexterity. And as you can imagine, it's not easy. Right? For example, if we are a business organization, if we invest too much on the society, our shareholder would say, "Oh, why would you invest on that? Make less profit for me." Right? If you invest more on your employees, again, the shareholder are going to say, "Oh, why you invest a lot on them?" So therefore, that is what it means by simultaneous and conflicting demand among stakeholders that we need to manage. Okay, but any know how to do that, right? It's a little bit difficult because our stakeholder also include future generation. So many corporations think this long. When we talk about long-term perspective, many corporations think this long. BMW from day one, they were thinking about ensuring enough water for the future generation. Right? So therefore, many German companies are really sustainable because of that. Okay, so now this is an example of an imbalanced practice. Okay, that you see everywhere. Okay, so basically, what happened here is that we are trying to get rid of the use of plastic bottle in the workplace, meaning the environment. We want to save the environment. But we often have to trade it off with hygiene and convenience among employee and customer. So if you emphasize too much on one domain, which is the environment, and you are not concerned with the society domain, then this practice is not sustainable. Going to the extreme in one development domain is not sustainable. We need to find a balance, but that balance is dynamic. So this is the difficulty. The balance is dynamic. It's not constant, right? So it's dynamic, changing over time, depending on the changing stakeholder demands. This is probably the problem why we never been able to fix, for example, bushfire in the northern part of Thailand. We assume that it's static, but it is not. It's changing over time, and it has a lot of stakeholder involved. Okay, so therefore, we need to find a balance, and that balance is dynamic. Okay, I would say that this is an example, a paradigm shift. For example, today, if we are a business and we want to introduce a new product, in the past, what we have to do is to, typical goal, right? Make money. maximizing short-term profitability. So we have to make sure that our customer are happy, right? And with the new product. The indicator for that is probably customer satisfaction index. Why we need to pay attention to customer? Because they are the one who bring in money, to our business. Now, that is not balanced, right? Because we focusing on only the economy or economic domain. Today, if we are trying to set a goal like that, we have to make it a sustainability goal. Right? Make sure that stakeholder, including future generation, are happy with the new product. Now, one may ask the question, how do you know, whether what is it that the future generation would like or don't like, right? There are certain things that we can be sure that they will prefer. For example, enough water, clean air, right? Clean air or a pleasant society to live in. So these are what future generation want. So we can guess what they want as well. And so therefore, whatever product that we introduce, you have to you make sure that it meets all these environment demand, so society demand and all that. And so therefore, the indicator for the goal here is stakeholder brand equity index. Okay, so stakeholder brand equity index is something that we can use as a proxy of sustainable performance, which I will address very soon in the next following slide. Okay, and there are many more processes involved. When we say that more process involved, it also means more investment as well. Okay, we will talk about this later on today. Okay, so this is a paradigm shift that is required. Okay, now the problems about creating a balance among the three development domains of society, environment, and economy is that we don't know where the balance is. People keep on saying all the time, all the time, that you cannot, pursue only economic goal. You cannot only do GDP and all that, because that's affect the entire domain of environment and society as well, right? But if you say that we need to create a balance, what is that balance? I'm not sure how many of you have thought about this. Right? So when we say that we need to create a balance among the development domain, and how do you identify, right? A noodle shop, a noodle shop on the side of the street would have a different balance than a big corporation. So therefore, identifying the balance involve a lot of factors into consideration, and at the same time, the context, the surrounding context of each of the company as well, organization, or even individual. Right? So identifying the balance is the core of sustainability performance management. So if you want to do sustainability performance management right, you have to make sure that you can identify the balance among the three development domains which continue, which constantly changing. Okay, so if we start with this, right, you're gonna know that, it's not easy. It's not as easy as adopting SDG goal, how many indicators you have, and then just following all those indicators and say, at the end of the day, you celebrate all the achievement of, the sustainability goals or the indicator. Right? So it's not that easy. Right? So therefore, the big question here is how? How do you know where is the balance of your organization or of you as an individual? So that is the how that we need to find out. Okay. So existing knowledge. So what are some of the existing knowledge that we have? So this is what I have done. I looked at the existing knowledge, and I will tell you the result in the next slide. Before you getting to know the solution, right? We need to know the nature of the problem first. Okay, so the nature of the sustainability problems is wicked problems. Wicked problems. This is a wicked problem, meaning that the problem that are very interrelated. And solving one problem lead to the creation of other problems with no stopping rule. Right? So imagine the bushfire in the north. If all of you just, we can stop that very easily.
just put all the people who set up the fire into the jail, and we can stop the problem right away. If you have done that, you're gonna see a lot of social problems, right? That could even lead to a bigger problem, like they may hate the Thai government, the central government in Bangkok, because you didn't do well with the people in the north, and that would lead to the division of the country and many other things. Right? So therefore, that is an example of wicked problems. Solving one problem lead to the creation of many other problems with no stopping rule. Now, if you know the nature of the wicked problem like that, what kind of approach do you need? You look at the ESG and SDG. Do they address the nature of the sustainability problem? They're probably not, right? And that's probably by intention as well, because they are trying to create the common scheme for everyone to adopt, right? And therefore, they just set up the goal, and then let us figure out how to get there. Okay, but the how to get there is more difficult than setting up the goals. So therefore, we never been able to solve the wicked sustainability problem. As you can see, the iceberg continue to melt. If even this very minute, it still continue to melt. Right, the bushfire and the flooding in the north right now that we are experiencing. Right, so therefore, an effective approach given the wicked sustainability problem, the nature, need to be systematic and dynamic. So whatever approach that you come up with in order to achieve the ESG or EDG or SDG goal, it has to be systematic and dynamic, meaning that it allows you to come back and forth and check, and allow you to manage and monitor, whether you have achieved that balance or not. Okay, so with this approach, ideal approach in mind, I have scanned the globe for a solution. So basically, when I say scanning the globe, it means that I look at the Scopus database, which is a global database, right, and see what have people done about sustainability performance management. Okay, and this is the school of thought in the Scopus database. Right? As you can see, let me explain to some of you may not be familiar with what it is here, right? So basically, these are the underlying school of thought in the Scopus database, meaning that what is it that the people, the scholar have created commonly. Right? So this is what they do. Right? So basically, we call each group in different colors school of thought. There is one big group of them, that are looking at environmental sustainability, which is understandable, right? Because we have a lot of problems in terms of the environment, degradation and things like that. So therefore, there is a group of people to focus on environmental sustainability, and as you can see, they are mainly Chinese. Probably because China is facing a lot of environmental problems, right? And there is another group of them that do a lot of measurements, triple bottom line measurements, meaning that they come up with how do you measure sustainability performance in terms of social performance, environmental performance, and economic performance. So they do a lot of that. So there is a big group of them that do that. And there is another group in green below here that focus on supply chain sustainability, because supply chains is a big area of study for people, because it impacts a lot of life, of human life. And there is another group that focuses entirely on quantitative method in sustainability. Right? As you can see, there is none of them that focus on sustainability performance management. There's no school of thought on that. Okay. Now these are the keywords. These are the keywords for each of the report in the Scopus. Right? So as you can see, looking at the data, right? Initially, scholar focus on sustainability performance indicator and sustainability assessment. So those are the things that people are focusing on all the time. But sustainability performance indicator and assessment does not address the wicked sustainability problem, and they are not dynamic. They are not dynamic. Right? So therefore, people have tried. They probably recognize the dynamic nature of sustainability problems. That's why they start looking at circular economy in red circle there and look at dynamic capability theories. These address the dynamic nature of the sustainability problem. But that only happened in 2022. So it's very recently that scholars have looked at circular economy and dynamic capabilities in the context of sustainability performance management. This suggests, an area for a researcher. So if you are a researcher interested in this area, focusing on this area, dynamic capabilities and circular economies and sustainability performance management. Okay, now, this is a summary of what we have learned, right? Scholars have not actually extensively studied sustainability performance management system yet. Not much is known about it. Okay, and although scholars have focused their effort on sustainability performance, their effort have been put on sustainability measurement and indicator that are not effective in responding to the dynamic and wicked sustainability problem. However, they start to recognize the dynamic and wicked problems, right? That's why they focus on moving toward dynamic capability and circular economy in recent years. So having said that, right, the existing knowledge is not enough, for us to use. So how should a sustainability performance management system look like so that we can constantly ensure a dynamic balance among the development domains of culture, society, environment, and economy? So how does it look like? So that's lead to this framework here. This framework, I have email all of you the report of this framework, right? Now, I'd like to point out here is that this framework is not the best. It's not the solution to the world problem. Okay, it's just something, it's act as a platform for all of you, right? For a sudden enlightenment, meaning that once you have learned about this framework, you have some new idea, it's provoke your thought about something that you have not thought about before, right? And then as a practitioner, you may apply some of them. As a researcher, you want to refine or test this framework further so that hopefully we're going to get something better than this. Okay, so this is only the starting point of sustainability performance management. Okay, so the framework starts with sustainability problems. Okay, it starts with sustainability problem. We see a lot of sustainability problem these days, right? And then I'm going to go only roughly here, and then in the next following slide, I'm going to go in detail. For this slide, I would like you to show you a high level pictures of what we are going to go in detail, right? So it starts with sustainability problems, right? And then sustainability problems lead to organizational culture, sustainability culture. Okay, sustainability culture is very important because there are a lot of studies that indicate that culture is a precondition for the development of a sustainable enterprise, meaning that if you are not having the right culture, your organization is not going to be sustainable. Right? So therefore, because it is a precondition, according to the previous research, it starts first, right, after sustainability problem. Within this sustainability culture, there are sustainability vision, sustainability value, and sustainability assumption. I will discuss this in detail in the next slide. Now, once we have the sustainability culture, the next thing that you have is sustainability strategy, meaning that how can you turn your vision into reality? right? So that is a strategic question, for every strategist, right? So we need to come up with sustainability strategy. Sustainability strategy is different from business strategy. Business strategy, you focus on maximizing profitability, but this one is not. It's focusing on at the end of the day is the maximizing the well-being for all. Okay, so sustainability strategy has 4 of them, right? A triple bottom line. You hopefully have some idea about that already. The other one is quite new, cooperation strategy, stakeholder engagement strategy, and the last one is sustainable organization strategy. I'm going to go in detail in the next following slide. Okay, once you have the strategy, right, you're going to do the practice. You must have the practice that align with your strategy and also with the vision and the culture. Okay, so the corporate sustainability practices, there are 5 of them, which is the high level, the top level, right? Perseverance, resilient development, moderation, geosocial development, knowledge sharing. So these are the high level sustainability practices that you have to align your existing, whatever practices you have, like circular economy, cleaner production, 3R, like reuse, recycle, and all that, right? So make sure that you align all this with the high level corporate sustainability practices here. And then the last one is where we want to know whether what we have done are successful or not, right? That is called sustainability performance. In the sustainability performance domain, there are 2 of them, output and outcome. Output are something that is delivered directly from what activities that you have done in the corporate sustainability practices, and outcome are different. They are the indirect output, the indirect from the output, which we will discuss in detail. Now, the very good thing about this framework is that it allows the feedback loop. Okay, so you have feedback loop. Let me stop sharing the screen for a minute so that I can get the okay, it's okay. So we can continue. I like to have the highlight so that I can highlight which elements of this I am talking about, but I'm not, I'm not a very high tech savvy, right? So therefore I cannot figure out where it is. Just have to be patient with me. Okay, so therefore this is the overall, right? So I'd like to point out 2 things that is provide feedback mechanism. Right, so this is the feedback loop. There are 2 of them. Once you deliver the output and outcome, right, your stakeholder would send the feedback to you, whether they like it or not. Okay, so the feedback would go back to number 1, right, go to the sustainability problems, whether it's actually solved the sustainability problem or not. Whether it solved the bushfire problem, whether it solved the, the flooding problems or not, right? If it does solve the problem, right, it come back to strengthen the entire organizational culture, meaning that, oh, our culture is correct, right? So when the culture is correct, the strategy is also confirmed, is correct, right? Practice also confirmed, correct. And then this entire loop will be strengthened. Okay, now, if the output and outcome that are delivered are not quite right, stakeholders are not very happy. It sends the feedback as well, to the sustainability problem, telling you that, oh, it doesn't actually solve the problem. It doesn't actually solve the bushfire problem and all that. And then you, as the manager of sustainability activities in your organization, probably have to come back and reassess the culture. What is it that we have done wrong in terms of the vision, in terms of the value and the assumption, right? And also the strategy. What is it that we need to adjust, and also the practice. What is it that we need to adjust so that our stakeholders are happy, right? When we say stakeholders are happy, it means that we get the balance, the dynamic balance. So that is one feedback loop over here. Okay. Now there is another feedback loop that goes directly, into the sustainability culture. So the stakeholders send the feedback loop. and confirm that, oh, we have done right, the culture is correct, and then the whole thing, sustainability strategy, sustainability practice, and performance are reinforced even further, strengthened, right? Now, as I said, the balance is dynamic, okay? It can change over time. Now, how does this framework help you to identify a dynamic balance when it is changing? Okay, when it changes, it means that your stakeholders are not happy. Maybe during the previous time they are happy, but then when you continue to measure the output and outcome, and they say that they are not happy, that means that the balance is changing now. Right? And then it's allowed you to come back and assess the sustainability problem, the culture, the strategy, the practice again, and hopefully you will reach another equilibrium or another balance. Right? So that is another very beautiful things about this feedback loop. Okay, so with that, let's go in detail. Okay, so the feedback loop, like I said, help you to identify the dynamic balance. You get the feedback from stakeholder, whether they're still happy, they are still happy with the whatever you have done and deliver to them. If they are not happy, then you have to reassess and change your balance. You're gonna get a new balance again. Okay, so that is what it means by dynamic balance. Now, sustainability organizational culture. Why is it so important? Okay, organizational culture play a vital role in ensuring corporate sustainability and long-term prosperity of your organization, because you don't live there forever, you don't work there forever, right? But the culture is there, it's always there if you maintain it right. Okay, it's outlives any one individual. Okay, and the culture is also very important. When we talk about culture, it means that the way we do things around here, we as an organization, as a group, this is the things that we value, and this is what we value we should do around here. So if you can create the right culture that are sustainability productive, you can ensure sustainable corporate sustainability forever, right? But the problem is not that easy. If you lay off, for example, right? If you lay off your employee very often, or your turnover rate is very high, you are not going to have a culture at all, right? Something to think about, if you want to maintain a right culture that you spend a lot of time and effort in creating, you have to be very careful about laying off or, not treating your employee well, so that your staff turnover rate that is very high. If your staff turnover rate is very high, you won't have any culture at all, because culture is something that you share as an organization. If your people turn over a lot, you won't have any culture. Okay, so that is something to think about. Now, when we talk about organizational culture, right, there are 3 levels. The first one is assumption, meaning that that's something that you take it for granted. Okay, some organization have this, unconscious assumption, sustainability, unconscious assumption. So therefore, whatever they do, naturally, they're going to be concerned about the environment, the society, and all that. They're going to go and measure the happiness of the stakeholder and everything, because they have this assumption. Okay, but that is very rare, right? The more common one that I see, at least from my study, is the level of belief and value. Okay, this is when we talk about vision, statement, and value. Okay, so this is the belief and value, meaning that you believe in the same direction, sustainability direction that is, and also the value that are supportive to that direction. Okay, and then the last one is the artifact. Artifact means something that you see, you can observe as part of the culture, such as sustainability practices, sustainability project, sustainability reporting, and all that. Right? So these are the level of organizational culture. So if you want to assess your company, you can look at this, organizational culture, whether you have the belief and value or not, whether you have the artifact or not. Okay, so that is the level of sustainability organizational culture, which is the first thing that we do as part of the sustainability performance management. Okay, just make a note. ESG and Sustainable Development Goal does not address the human value. Okay, they're only indicator. Right? So therefore, we are not changing human value, and that's why it's not sustainable. Okay, now sustainability vision, how does it look like? Okay, so it is a stakeholder-focused vision. Right? At least your vision must contain something like this. To be the most socially responsible business in the world for all. You must have an element of the environment, or the society and all that as part of your vision, right? And therefore, that would lead to the strategy that follow. Okay, if your vision does not address the environment and the society, your business is gonna focus only on profit maximization. Okay, so that is the starting point. You have to make sure, number one, your vision address stakeholder, right? Stakeholder. Now, many companies have such a vision, right? But they are not living vision. In our study, right? Many case study, we observe that the vision for sustainable companies are not simply a statement. They are living vision. It is the vision that they live, that they use to guide their organizational activities. So we have to make sure that our vision are a living vision, not just a statement. How can you do that? We need to communicate. Okay, we're gonna talk about that very soon. How can you make a living vision? Okay, so that is the vision part. Now, in order to design a vision statement, right, there are certain characteristics that you need to have: brief, clear, stable, future-oriented, abstract, challenging, and inspiring. And it must contain reference to increasing stakeholder satisfaction. An example of that vision look like that, to be the most socially responsible business in the world for all. Okay, I'm not going into details about what do you mean by brevity, clarity, and all that, because otherwise I'm going to spend too much time on this. But I have provided the article for you if you are interested in, right? Or at the bottom of the slide, you can look at that and read the detail about what do we mean by brevity, clarity, stable, and all that. Okay, so that we can save time to talk about something else. Okay, now, once you have the vision, you have to make sure that people execute the vision the right way that you want. Okay, now we can use sustainability values as the guideline for them, to execute the vision, right? Corporate value we found in sustainable companies in the West, in the Western world, right? Repeat again and again and again. Right? So they are society and environment, responsibility for the society and the environment, and also innovation. So we see this kind of value, operating within sustainable companies in the West all the time. Society, environment, and innovation. Now, in Thailand or in Asia, we see another set that is quite distinctive. Okay, so corporate values that we see in Thailand are virtuous values. Okay, virtuous value. Right, so what are these virtuous values? These virtuous values are, for example, generosity. You have to be generous, right? Integrity and perseverance, right? So these are examples of virtues that we see repeatedly. And when you imagine why is it, for example, perseverance, why is it so important in sustainable company? It is important because when you at an organization face an obstacle, a big obstacle, okay, you have to be, your people have to persevere. Don't give up easily in order to go through that kind of obstacle, right? So therefore,
perseverance value is something that we should create, or nurture among our organizational members if we want to be sustainable. Otherwise, people is gonna give up, when they face a problem, give up and go to another company, don't stay with you. Right? So therefore, these are something that you can assess for now. You can look at your company and see if your company has this type of value or not. Okay. Sustainability values development, just like vision. We want living value. We don't want just statement. Okay, so how can you create living vision and values? There are some techniques that we see in many sustainable companies. Number one is leadership role modeling. You as corporate leader, right? Not only CEO, the top management level, you have to act as a role model. What does it mean by, responsibility for the society? Maybe you can just go to engage in the CSR project on your own, to show to other people that this is what we value. Okay, maybe you go and trying to save the paper you use in your office, just to show to other people that this is what we value, environmental responsibility and all that. So that is leadership role modeling. Leadership role modeling is most effective from many studies. It is the most effective in communicating value. Right? So therefore, if on the other hand, right, you communicate the value, but then your leadership don't do that, it's actually bring about lower morale among your employees. Right? So don't do that. You have to practice what you preach your people to do. Right? So that is the leadership role modeling. Another one is called share events. It is an event that's shared by organizational member, whether it is, New Year party, retirement party, or even just regular parties or that you have in your organization. Make sure that you communicate the vision as well. Right? And the last one is management conversation. This is something that you do as part of your management meeting or operational meeting. Basically, for example, companies like DuPont or SCG, they do this. Okay, so they actually, before they begin a meeting, they're gonna ask employee here in the meeting and say, who would like to share? What is it that you do today that reflect our corporate vision and value? And then your employee is going to raise their hand and say many things that they did today and share with organizational member. So that is what we call management conversation, which is quite effective as far as I can see. It's quite effective because people like to tell what they have done, what they have succeeded and all that. So this allow them to do that, and they're gonna have this, they're gonna raise the level of satisfying the higher level needs of self-actualization and self-esteem need and all that, just simply because you ask them to tell other people what they do, right? So that is management conversation. Now, once we have the right culture, the next thing that we have to do is to align, sustainability strategy, right? The strategy that we have in our company with the vision and value. Because imagine, okay, if your vision is correct, or imagine we have to be very concerned about the environment, the society, and everything. But then your marketing strategy is only focused on maximizing sales. Don't care about employee, whether they like it or not. Just try to maximize sales, put pressure on them, make the target, right? So if the strategy is not aligned with the vision and value, your people are not going to be there. They're going to leave. They don't like it, right? So therefore, we need to align the strategy with our vision and value. There are 4 main strategies here that I'm going to talk about, right? So they are triple bottom line, stakeholder engagement, cooperation, and sustainable organization, right? Which I'm going to go in detail. Now, the triple bottom line strategy, this is something I think all of you are familiar with. Right? So basically, in the past, we only measure profitability, right? Now, if you adopt the triple bottom line concept, you have to measure the other domain, which is environment and society output as well. Right? So triple bottom line is understood as the main proxy to measure corporate sustainability performance. Right? It suggests company to report the society, environment, and economic performance output as measured for corporate sustainability. If you have been doing SDG or ESG, you are doing this sustainability triple bottom line strategy already. Okay. Now the triple bottom line strategy indicators come out something like this. Social output, the job that you created in the community, household debt reduction rate, religious program, number of religious program that you sponsor, or temples that you have been sponsoring, environmental output like waste reduction rate, or carbon footprint rate and all that. Economic output, for example, environmentally friendly products, like how much profit you make from environmentally friendly products. So this is the triple bottom line output. But then again, right, if you simply adopt the SDG and ESG and you have all these indicators in place, it doesn't tell you whether you actually achieve the balance. It doesn't tell. It only tell you that yes, you have achieved all these indicators, but it doesn't tell you whether your stakeholders are actually happy with it or not. Okay. The next strategy is co-opetition strategy. Right? This is something that not very popular, right? Because basically the strategy tells you to work with your competitors. Okay, but if you think about your stakeholder, right? Your competitor is also your stakeholder, right? So therefore, we have to find a way to work with them if possible. And I understand, for some industry, you won't be able to work with your competitor, or for a certain stage of your company or your organization development, you won't be able to work with your competitor. So it depends on the context. Right? So if you think you can do, then you can adopt this co-opetition. But if you think that you cannot, then fine. You don't need to do that. Right? Now, co-opetition, what does it mean? It means that you work with your competitors, to bring about some mutual benefits in terms of any or all of the following. Okay, number one, innovation. You work with your competitors, more ideas. Particularly people who work in the same industry, know market condition, market requirement, the changing demand among your supplier and all that. Right? So you come together and coming up together with a new product, for example. Right? So that leads to new innovation. Okay. It also leads to cost minimization. Right? For example, if you stick together, right, and negotiate pricing for the same supplier, you're gonna bring the cost down, for example. So that is a cost minimization. Cost minimization is also lead to an example, for example, like something that you exchange knowledge about supplier. If you want to make a decision on which supplier to do, you can ask the experience from your competitors. What do you think about this supplier? Which one is good, which one is bad, and all that. And then you can pick the right supplier. And that would help you to reduce, the chances of selecting the wrong supplier, and that costs a lot of, of opportunity and money as well. Right? And then that also include minimize risk. You minimize risk of selecting a supplier. Right? So when you share together, not only about the supplier, but many things, the condition or the partnership with so and so, right? If you talk to your competitors, you have better informed decision making. And then the last one, lead to bigger market share. You in the past, when you think about your competitors, you only think that, if we work with your competitors and we share knowledge with them, right, they're gonna steal our market share. But that's no longer true. Right? It's no longer true, right? It's actually lead to bigger market share. These are examples. Okay, so this is an examples of BioNTech and Pfizer. Okay, in March 2020, right, agreement between Pfizer and BioNTech, they try to jointly develop a COVID vaccine because each of them alone won't have the capacity to produce a large amount of vaccine. So they work together, right? They work together so that working together allow them to combine development and manufacturing capabilities. And as a result, they produce more, vaccine, and that increase market share. So that is a very good example. Another one is Amazon and their smaller vendor. So they are competitors. Okay, so Amazon opened its e-commerce platform to smaller vendor. Right, this allow Amazon to gain money from commission. Right, and also the small seller also gain access to bigger companies' technology, warehouse, delivery capabilities, and larger market share as well. Okay, Amazon also benefit from more customer interacting with the marketplace. So they basically have more customer visiting their website, right? And therefore the data it gather on customer preference and economy of scale is very good. So it's allowed them to handling more products. They get more requirement. They know their customer or consumer even better. So this is what it means by mutual benefit. Okay, so think about this co-opetition strategy, whether you can do it or not. I think for a university like Mahidol, right, this is a very good example and very good strategy to do. Recently, we have the president, our president, have signed an agreement with Chulalongkorn University, to work with something to bring about the benefit for the public, to the public at large. So we are actually competitors, and we actually adopt this co-opetition strategy. Okay, this is an example. Now, indicators for the success of co-opetition. So how do you measure the success of this strategy? It's come from cost reduction or resource utilization or better utilization of the resource, right? Innovative products and services, you come up with something new, or increase market share, right? So these are only examples of the indicator or outputs. It's actually vary according to the agreement between you and your competitors, okay? And then stakeholder engagement. This is very important, and I think a lot of firms, even listed company in Thailand, didn't do this. Okay, so stakeholder engagement strategy, the goal is to improve the relationship with them. Okay, we want to have good relationship with our stakeholder. So who are these stakeholder? The stakeholder are anyone who are affected or will be affected by our operation, including future generation. Okay, so it's allow you to identify their interests, potential risk and misunderstanding with the surrounding society. For example, mechanism to positively influence other stakeholder, key people to be informed about business operation, negative stakeholder as well as their adverse effect on our business operation. So if we do this, stakeholder engagement strategy, we know which group of stakeholder that we need to focus on and how can we build relationship with them. When we talk about relationship with our stakeholder, this is something that I think not very many companies, at least in Thailand, are aware of. Okay, so basically there are 4 levels of relationship company, stakeholder company relationship quality. We call this company stakeholder relationship quality. We focus on the quality of the relationship. Right? So it starts from the one down below, which is called stakeholder satisfaction. Okay, stakeholder satisfaction is the overall evaluation regarding a firm and organization from stakeholder experience. So we want to know whether our stakeholders are happy with us or not. Very easy to do a survey. Okay. Now, that level of quality and your relationship quality is the lowest level. It is not it is the lowest one. So therefore, there are 3 other levels that are better. Okay. The next thing that is better is called stakeholder trust. This is a higher level stakeholder company relationship quality, meaning that they trust you as a company. Trust is defined as a perception or confidence in reliability and integrity among business partner and person who come to interact with the firm. So basically, they trust you. When they trust you, they will protect you even. When there are certain problems, they're gonna come and help you. Right? So that is a stakeholder trust. But stakeholder trust is still not the top level. Right? There is another level which is called stakeholder commitment. Stakeholder commitment is defined as a willingness of stakeholder to maintain a value relationship with you, right? And due to increasing trust and psychological attachment with the firm. So they commit with you, basically. They love you now. They start having some emotional involvement with your company now, right? But that is still not the best. Okay, the best one is called stakeholder identification. This is when they say that they identify themselves with you. Okay, they want that. Right? So it means that identification represents oneness with a self concept of an individual and concept of a group which an individual accept to be a member. So although they are surrounding community, for example, right, they're gonna say that they are part of your company. So that is what it means by stakeholder identification. Now, why do we need to focus on stakeholder company relationship quality? Because this stakeholder relationship quality, the top one, leading to brand equity or the value of your brand. It enhances your brand. It improves your brand value. Okay, so if you are interested in this, I have provide an article for you to read over here at the right bottom of the slide. You can read this in detail, but basically we have studied companies in Thailand, and we know that when they identify themselves with you, right, that would they're gonna give more preference, more value to your brand. Okay, so brand equity is a proxy for your sustainability performance as well. Right, so a strong brand equity is important because it allows you to set a higher price, and people are willing to pay. This is from empirical study, time and again. Okay, so if your company have a strong brand equity and you increase the price, people still don't leave you. They still willing to pay. Why is that? Because they identify themselves with you, remember? Right? So the relationship quality here is stakeholder identification. Right? So they are actually identify themselves with you. So they won't leave you even you set a higher price. Okay, now imagine you have done a lot of CSR project, right, as a university or as a company, right, and you have to report this in your sustainability report to the Stock Exchange of Thailand, right? Have you ever thought about measuring stakeholder company relationship quality or not, right? Whether maybe I have seen maybe some company measure stakeholder satisfaction, okay, but not the other 3. They did not measure stakeholder trust. They did not measure stakeholder commitment and also stakeholder identification. Okay, so if you do this, right, you continue to measure all of them, right, you're gonna be able to ensure not only their well-being but also your brand equity. Everyone win. Company win, stakeholder win, society win, environment win. Right? So this is the importance of brand equity and stakeholder relationship quality. So how can we achieve the top one, stakeholder identification? There is a framework here that I like to introduce, right? It's called stakeholder engagement framework. Okay, so I actually derived this from a successful project in Lampang province, it's a northern province in Lampang. It's actually for developed by, it's actually done, the project is done by STG, the Siam Cement Group. And I study them and see what they have done right or wrong. And that's why it's so successful, right? And I developed this stakeholder engagement framework after that study. Right? So what they have done is they do, stakeholder analysis. Right? So maybe I should give an introduction to this project first, right? So the project here is they basically want to do this. Right? So it is this the before picture here. Right? The picture above is the before. This is the surrounding mountain around the cement plant in Lampang. Basically 0 trees on the top of the mountain. It's a very dry area. Okay. And they have done this project called Check Dam project. And at the end, it looked like, the after picture over here, the down one, right? You see a lot of green forest and all that. So what they did is they initiate the Check Dam project. Okay. I mean, if you see a mountain with no trees, right? And you want to grow the trees on the top of the mountain, right? And there's no water up there. There's no, humidity up there. So what you have to do is to create check dam, right? So check dam is where you slow down the water so that it allows the mountains, the soil to absorb the humidity. And then only when you have enough water, enough humidity, the trees can grow. Okay, so they have done that, as you can see. These are the check dam project that they do. And the people who are involved in building these check dams are the people who, the community people, of course, right? Because they are one of the stakeholder, right? The employees and even the society, whoever want to help them and go to do this CSR project, they allow you to do that. Okay, so therefore, before they start the project, right? They have identified who are the stakeholder and what are the impact of them and what are the social influence, what are their needs, what are their supportive and constructive roles, and how can we engage with them. And this is called engagement strategy. Okay, so this is what they do as I derive from, from my study. Okay, and they have done all this. And before they go into the community, right? This is what they have done. So this is what they have done, right? They're starting with number one, create a sense of urgency, educate the stakeholder why they need to change, why they need to grow the trees and rather than cutting down the trees and all that, right? Why do you need to do that? And then building guiding coalition, meaning that identify change agents, social leaders who can influence others toward change, and develop the team of change agents. These comprise community members and also, employees who are well respected by the community, the monk, the head of the temples and all that. And then they create a vision for the project, and develop a strategy. Okay, and then they communicate the vision among the stakeholder, and whatever the employees or the community member need, like money, budget, and all that, the company provide all that resource, even the knowledge. Get the knowledge for building the check dam. Right? They take them to the demonstration project of the King Rama Night and all that, and then come back to implement those projects back there in Lampang and all that. Right? And then they also identify quick wins, celebrate when it is successful, when an area is successful, make more change, expand the scope of change, and then make the change as part of the culture. Right? So basically, I'm not going to go in detail, but if you are familiar with Kotter state of change, this is what it is. So you can look at that and come back to revisit the stakeholder engagement framework here. And at the end of the day, if you actually adopt this, right, you're gonna get into this level of company and stakeholder relationship quality, meaning that they would identify themselves with you. Okay, so that is the stakeholder engagement framework. All right, now you have the right vision, the right strategy that is aligned with the vision and the value. You have the next thing that you have to do is the supportive organization. Okay, imagine you have everything right, the vision, the value right, the strategy right, but your organization is so rigid and inflexible, won't be able to adapt, you won't be able to be flexible to the change of the stakeholder demand. Therefore, you are not going to be successful, right? That's why you need to have a right sustainable organization strategy. Sustainable organization, what kind of organization you want to develop? It needs to be flexible, adaptable, and not only customer focused anymore. You must have stakeholder focus. Right? For example, in the past, you may have customer service department. Right now, you don't. Right? You can have that, customer service department, but you must have a unit that focus on stakeholder relationship quality, for example, right? So that you can have the feedback. And this unit will allow you to, will enable the feedback loop that I discussed earlier to work, because you get the feedback from your stakeholder, regularly, to allow you to adjust the practice and all that, so that they make sure that you have the right balance. Okay. Now, this is an examples of why you need to have a right organization. Okay. On your left-hand side here is a weak culture where everyone working toward their own direction, right? This one, if there is a change in the market, most of them are gonna die, go bankrupt, because they won't be able to adjust on time, right? A better culture is where you have a broad direction, you share a broad vision, value, and strategy, right? But then again, not every one of you actually share the vision, the value, and the strategy. It's a little bit better. This one allows you to survive better, but may take more time. Okay, but then the last one is the best one, which is the one with healthy culture. Right? Healthy culture is very important to organization, because everyone share the vision, the value, and the strategy, and therefore, when there is a need to turn left, turn right, or even backward, they can do that immediately. So it's allow you to be very flexible and very adaptable and stakeholder focused. So think about this when you go back and reassess your organization. We don't have a lot of time. This is actually a course, a 14-week session lecture, for this organization strategy. But I like to provide you some idea so that you have to think what is it that you need to assess. Not only triple bottom line that you have usually do, right? You need to look at the competition, whether you can work with your competitors or not. You need to build relationship, upper level relationship with your stakeholder, trying to build a good relationship with your stakeholder. And then you have to assess your organizational structure, whether they are adaptable, flexible, and stakeholder focused or not. So that is something that you can think about. Right now, this is an organizational structure, okay, that allow you to be very flexible and adaptable, right? You can look more details, right? It's called horizontal structure. I have provided a book here if you want to look at this and apply within your organization. So basically, rather than organizing around department, they don't do that, right? So they organize around processes, and each team members can perform everything within that process. So it's allowed them to be very flexible and all that. It's a little bit very sophisticated. Right? So therefore, I won't go in detail, but I suggest you to look at this. Maybe it's applicable for your organization. You can read the book by the source here. I have provided you with that. Right? So you can look at that. Okay. Now, once you have the right strategy, right? The next thing is to practice, the sustainability practice. This is probably where you focus the most, right, in your organization, because it is something that you can see. Right? It is something that you can see. There are 5 practices here, right? Number one is called perseverant, right? Perseverant. Basically, this is translated from the perseverance value. You have to make sure that your workforce is perseverant. Don't give up things easily. Right? So that leads to autonomous motivation, meaning that no matter what problems or what obstacle, I will go through that. I will go through that, right? And that leads to sustainable organization. Right? And in addition to that, resilient development, you have to anticipate and prepare for change, right? Resilient development for a lot of people simply mean change management and risk management. But in the sustainable organization context, it means more than that. Okay, it means that you have to invest more on developing self-governing team, right? By investment in your people, focusing on developing firm-specific knowledge and skill, because it is this firm-specific knowledge and skill that allow you to timely respond to the changing environment. For example, right? If you bring in people from outsider to be the CEO of your company today, okay, and there is a change in the market, this CEO will be in a big difficulty because he is just the day one into the company and doesn't have the firm specific knowledge and skill yet. Okay, so that's why sustainable companies invest in people and developing firm specific knowledge and skill, because it allows them to respond effectively to the changing environment. Organizational culture, we've talked about that. Resilient also include widely shared organizational vision and value, right? And CEO not act as a hero, but just only a top team speaker. You are not adopt the top-down approach. Otherwise you are the one who make decision on everything, which is not possible. And the last one, enabling organizational structure. Whatever vision you have, whatever strategy you have, right? Your organizational structure must enable all that to happen. Right? So we have to make sure that that is happen in place in our organization, and that is called resilient development, allowing for self monitoring and regulating. Okay, moderation is the next one. Moderation is maximize long-term profitability. Many people mistake this concept. A lot of people think that, if you invest on a lot on the society and in the environment, you're gonna make loss, right? But time and again, a lot of study have proven that investment in the society and environment in the long run allow you to outperform your competitors even, right? So therefore, investing for long-term profitability is something that you should do, because it leads to prudent management, right? And then geosocial development is the fourth one, right? Basically, whatever you develop, like new product development or new business unit, or whether you want to expand the location of your business and all that, right? Think about geosocial development, meaning that whatever you want to develop, right, you have to take into consideration the local culture, the society, the environment, the economy, because that leads to the balance. Remember, the balance among the three domains of development. And it's also leading to a higher level of stakeholder relationship quality as well. Okay, we talk about that, long-term stakeholder relationship. Right? And then the last one is knowledge sharing. Right? This is the result from cooperation strategy. So basically, you share the knowledge within your organization with everyone and also with your stakeholder. Right? So this leads to renew external and internal know-how and competency, meaning that you know something better. You always renew your knowledge. You get feedback from your stakeholder, your competitors, and you renew your internal know-how. This allows you to be adaptable and flexible later on, right? Now, these 5 corporate sustainability practices actually leading to organizational resilience. Organizational resilience meaning organizational buffering capacity
and organizational adaptive capacity. Okay, buffering capacity means you are immune, no matter what come and hit you, as an organization, you probably won't feel it. You won't feel because you are so well prepared. So that is buffering capacity. Every shock is buffer. You won't even feel it. Okay. Now, another time when you are hit by an external shock, you feel it, right? But then you can adapt, right? Successfully. And that is called organizational adaptive capacity. If you adopt this high-level corporate sustainability practice, it would lead to organizational buffering and adaptive capacity. Okay, so that is high-level corporate sustainability practices. So how do you measure the success of the vision, the success of the value, the success of the strategy, the success of your, practices, sustainability practices, right? There are sustainability performance, right? Within the sustainability performance, this is very important. Most people only focus on output. Output are the direct output delivered from the practices and their related activities. For example, the rate of reduction in carbon footprint, everyone measure that, right? The employment rate within the community, the income generated from the sales of environmentally friendly products. Everyone measure that, right? But the other part that people don't measure is the sustainability outcome. Okay, the sustainability outcomes are specific alterations in human perceptions or subsequent action resulting from the output. So after you deliver the output, what happened to your stakeholder? That is outcome. Okay, so the outcome include stakeholder-based brand equity. We talk about that, right? Self-resilience, the ability to stand on one's own. Self-reliance, the ability to stand on one's own. Resilience, immunity, and happiness. So these are the sustainability outcomes that we should measure. Okay. So we give an example of output here from the TBL strategy, from the co-opetition strategy already. Right now, the Sustainable Development Goals and ESG, which one are they? Between output and outcome. It's quite obvious that they are output. They are not actually outcome. They are just indicators delivered directly from the business operation. So if you want to be sustainable, you should add another part which is called outcome as part of your ESG or SDG scheme. Okay. Now, the sustainability output are not necessarily guarantee sustainable well-being for all. So therefore, you must add sustainability outcome, like I said. They are stakeholder-based brand equity, self-reliant, resilient, immunity, and happiness. Okay. Stakeholder brand equity. Brand equity, what it is, right? It is the value of your brand, collective value of your brand. Traditionally, brand equity is in the field of marketing. You want to know the value of your brand, right? So you ask your customer, to tell you how much is your brand. Only customer. But now in the sustainability context, right? Who tell the brand value, right? It's stakeholder. It's the perception of your stakeholder, right? And this area is still lacking. If you are a researcher, right, this could be a very good topic for your research projects or even a PhD project. How do you develop a brand equity, stakeholder-based brand equity index, as a proxy for sustainability performance? Right? This brand equity leading to a higher level, right? So from our study, the higher the firm stakeholder relationship quality, the higher the brand equity. Right? So therefore, we need to enhance our quality relationship with our stakeholder. Right? And we have suggest the stakeholder engagement framework for you just now. That one is something that you can use, okay, to enhance your brand equity. Right? This is an example. It's quite old because difficult to do, right? And not very many companies have done this, right? So this is the evidence that I have.
in 2018, right? This is from SCG. SCG Reputation Surveys Review. So this is what I mean by stakeholder-based brand equity. Okay, so basically they need not ask only their customer, but they do SCG member, the employee, community members, general public, right, university student, and media professional. So they have identified stakeholder, and then with some calculation, with some formula, okay, they have also calculated this. I think there is a group of researchers at Chulalongkorn Business School that have done this. And this is the value of the brand cement building materials. So this is an example of brand equity. So they can determine the value of your brand, by using this brand equity. So they estimated the brand value like this way. So therefore, this is an example of the use of brand equity as part of your sustainability management program. You trying to improve your relationship quality and at the same with your stakeholder, and at the same time it's return to benefit you as well, because it's actually increase the brand value of your company. Okay. Now, the last element of the framework, which is feedback loop, okay, which is a very important part of the framework, which is feedback loop. And the feedback loop allow you to have organizational capabilities of ambidexterity, okay, via the feedback mechanism. So basically, it allow you to be able to know, to detect when the stakeholder requirement change, whether they still remain happy with whatever you have done with them, with the relationship with them or not, right? And if they are not happy, they give feedback to you. You adjust the culture, the strategy, the practices, right? And then you test with them again, whether they're happy with whatever you have done or not. And if they are happy, you're going to reach another equilibrium or another dynamic balance. Right? So therefore, this feedback loop is very important that you can establish. So if there is anything that you learn from the lecture today and you can implement within your company tomorrow, it is this feedback loop. Okay, at least you should test, not test just one time. Regularly monitor and manage the relationship with your stakeholder, so that you can come back and adjust your business operation, business strategy, and all the rest. Okay, so organizational capability of ambidexterity is the ability of an organization to effectively manage the simultaneous, often conflicting demand among stakeholders. Okay, so having said this, right, organizational capability of ambidexterity is probably the new word that I coined. Okay, if you look at the literature, there's not much to look at, about this. Therefore, it suggests to you this is a new area for research. Okay, so you can look at this, and this is probably a new and very promising area for research. How do you measure this organizational capability of ambidexterity? And how does it help you to manage conflicting demand, simultaneous demand among the stakeholder better and all that. Right? So it is this feedback loop again, to help you to identify the dynamic balance. Now, practical implications, right? We have probably 15 minutes exceed the time now, right? So I'm going to conclude with the practical and research implication. So the practical implication is this, right? So you can adapt the sustainability organizational culture. So basically, you can just revisit your existing vision and value, whether it contains any satisfaction of your stakeholder or not, right? And you can compare your existing organizational value, whether they are, they have virtuous value or not, right? Like perseverance, generosity, and all that. Okay, and then make sure that they are living sustainability vision and value, right? You have to make sure that you communicate and your organizational member buy in
all these value. Oftentimes, when you have a vision and a value statement, it's just simply statement. They are not actually living core value or living vision. So you have to make sure that they are actually living. Right? Now, you can also adapt the corporate level sustainability strategy and practices. So just look at the strategy, which one you can adopt. Triple bottom line, stakeholder engagement strategy, co-opetition, and then the last one, organizational strategy, sustainable organizational strategy, and see wherever you can adapt. You can actually adapt all that. Align the existing ESG and or SDG indicator with the sustainability output and identify the sustainability outcome. I give you a very specific example for this because I think that this will benefit many of you who actually adopt the SDG scheme already. So let's say the SDG goal number 4, quality education. SDG indicator 4.1.2 is graduation rate for primary, secondary, and high school education. So you simply stop at that currently. How many people have access to school? You get the number. How many people have actually finished the school? You stop at that. Of course, the number increase each year and you celebrate. But that does not actually leading to quality education, you see. It's leading to improving indicator, but not actually leading to quality education. Right? So therefore, you probably have to add more outcome as part of your SDG scheme. Right? So therefore, the outcome would be something like a student satisfaction level about the education they receive. Okay, ask them how much they're happy, they're satisfied with the education. Student perception about the education they receive, whether it makes them competitive. Okay, so ask them, whether it makes them better person, whether it makes them find a better job in the market and all that. Parent satisfaction level about the education that their children receive. Remember, parent is also your stakeholder, right? So ask them as well, right? And then the last one, success rate of students who continue to pursue a higher education. Right? So this is the outcome. So this is what we call outcome, right? Or outcome are actually, right, the perception, right? So they are actually the specific alteration in human perception or subsequent action resulting from output. Right? So therefore, you probably have identified a lot of output already as part of your SDG or as part of your ESG. But don't forget to add outcome as part of your sustainability management program as well. Okay, so this is only example. Now, you may also adopt the stakeholder brand equity as an outcome measure for sustainable well-being. You may start from a regular stakeholder satisfaction survey. So if there is nothing else you can think of, you can just do regular survey with your stakeholder, identify who are your stakeholder first and make sure that they are all happy with your operation. And if they are not happy, come back and adjust your cycle. The feedback loop would help you to do that. Will allow you to do that. Okay, and then you may also adapt the stakeholder engagement framework, right? You have many projects, remember the CSR project, right? So therefore, whichever area you go into and trying to implement a project, right? Make sure that you engage them. You make sure that the relationship, the quality relationship with them is at the level that they would identify themselves with you. Okay, so that would help enhance your brand equity. And at the same time, right, be actually improving their sustainable well-being. Right? And that another thing that you can do right away is to establish the feedback loop, right? After the deliver of sustainability output and outcome, right, to strengthen the entire sustainability performance management system. Okay, and then include stakeholder-based brand equity as part of your annual sustainability reporting. Okay, because this ensure that you keep your stakeholder happy. Right? So stakeholder are actually the society. Okay. Now, you may also adopt this sustainability component, as part of your sustainability management plan, right? Sustainability objective, what are your objectives? What are the indicators and what are the projects that you want to do, right? So these are all the activity for the sustainability management unit. Like a number of years ago, when the Sustainable Development Plan, sustainability report is not popular within Thailand yet. People don't know what Sustainable Development Unit do. In company, yes, the Stock Exchange of Thailand require you to submit the sustainability report now, right? And they have a lot of questions. When I talk to business people, they don't know what this unit do. What are the people in this unit do? What are the chief sustainability officer are supposed to be doing? This is what they are supposed to be doing. Okay. Number one, formulate a corporate sustainability strategy. Okay. Number two, coordinate with other units to execute the corporate sustainability strategy, right? Monitor and manage sustainability objective, output and outcome we've talked about, right? Develop and maintain a high level of firm stakeholder relationship quality, produce an annual sustainability report, and manage and monitor corporate brand equity, right? So this is what they are supposed to be doing. Sustainable Development Unit of your organization, right? So basically, you can go back and see what are they doing right now, and whether they meet all these requirements or not. Okay, so some idea to think about. Okay, now research implication. Like I said, this is just only the beginning, right? And I'm very sure that this framework is not the best, right? We need to improve. We need to improve. So therefore, in the report that I have given out to all of you, right, I have provided some proposition. There are actually 5 of them about the relationship in this framework. You can look at that, right, and see and develop your own research question accordingly, because there is a chunk of literature to back up this proposition already. So you are at a very good start with this proposition, because there is a lot of literature to back up. Okay, so looking at that and try to see whether quantitatively or qualitatively. Okay, now these are some of the very specific future research projects that I like to suggest, for whatever researcher or even research funding agency. Number one, you may want to develop a sustainability culture assessment scheme. So how do you assess a sustainability culture? Right? Remember, there are 3 levels: assumption, belief, and value, and artifact. Right? Usually, when you do only artifact, which is something that you do, you often get a lie, not the truth, the whole truth. Right? So how can you assess whether an organization actually have a sustainability culture or not? My doctoral students are doing many things on this area, like they are assessing sustainability assumption, assessing sustainability belief and value and all that. So you can do this, right? I have provided many of the report for you to look at. If you look at the sustainability culture slide, there will be some report for you to look at. The second one, develop a stakeholder-based brand equity index. So this is something, a very promising area, because currently you only have customer-based, customer-based or employee-based brand equity, but customer and employee are only 2 group of stakeholders. We need a whole range of stakeholders. So therefore, you may want to develop this as your project, whether it's a doctoral study or just your own project. Operationalize the construct in the SPM framework on your left side, on your right side here. As you can see, right, there are 6 boxes there, 6 boxes, right? So operationalize all these boxes, meaning that come up with the measures item, for all these boxes. Okay, so each of the boxes, if you come up with measure item and that are reliable, that is equivalent for your PhD. Okay, so just some idea, so you can do all this. Just say that, oh, I am so much interested in sustainability vision, right? And currently there is no measures item for sustainability vision yet. I mean,
reliable measure item, yet the scale, the set of questionnaire. Right? So therefore, you can do that as your PhD study, as your PhD project. Okay. And the rest as well, sustainability, output and outcome and all that. So you can operationalize, the technical term is called operationalize or the construct in the SPM framework, or you can explore the framework in an organization. Right? For example, you can use this framework to explore a sustainable organization or a not sustainable organization to prove that there are missing elements there. That's why they are not sustainable. Something like that. So that is a case study. Right? Or you can examine the relationship in the framework, whether they are statistically significant. So you can develop a questionnaire, on ask organization, whether they have sustainability vision, value, assumption, strategy, practice, and performance or not. And then do a very simple, structural equation modeling or multiple regression even to predict whether the vision, the strategy, the value, and the practice actually leading to improving sustainability performance of the organization. So that can be done also quantitatively. Okay. All right, so that's come to the end. Thank you for your participation. Now, let me turn this off first. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. This is where I would address the question that you may have. Okay, so I'm sorry that I won't be able to address all of them, right? So I will pick the question that cannot be answered from the report that I have given. Okay, so I will pick the question that you won't be able to get the answer from the report that I have given. Okay, now let's see. Okay. Any exact point of differences between sustainability and SDG and ESG? Okay, like I said, sustainability, when we talk about sustainability, we are actually referring to two things, right? Outcome and output. Okay, and ESG to me is only an output. Okay, they are not measuring outcome or the perception or the result from the output. Okay, so that is the answer for this exact point, the differences between sustainability and ESG. Okay, is the webinar recording be shared? I think it will be on our Facebook. The Facebook, I think it will be there forever on our Facebook, so you can revisit that if you like, right? Okay, this is a good question. May I ask what is the difference between cooperation and collusion? I think cooperation is when you get mutual benefit. You agree, you work together, and you're gonna get mutual benefit, right? But collusion is probably not that mutual benefit. That doesn't actually leading to mutual benefit, and like you said, right? Collusion is illegal as well. Sometimes when you do this cooperation strategy, you have to be very careful because sometimes it leads to monopoly. If your market, if your industry have very few competitors, that is probably not a good idea, to do cooperation, because that monopoly is illegal in many countries as well. So you would not consider adopting cooperation in such a context. Okay, so it's up to you. If it's applicable, you can just do, right? And then, okay, somebody have give an answer already, right? Oh, Gerard, thank you very much for participating. I see. Okay. Okay. Somebody mentioned a new index called corporate intention index. Yes, that could be an idea. I think if there is enough literature to back up. Okay, now in the scholarly world, right? In the scholarly world like us, we need to build new knowledge based upon well-informed knowledge base. Okay, in the practical world, you can just think out a project and you can do right away, right? But in the scholarly world, right, we need to extend the existing body of knowledge and build upon the well-informed body of knowledge. So therefore, if corporate intention index has enough foundation to do so, then you can do that as part of your PhD project. Okay. Okay, I think the rest of the question are concerned with something else, not the content of the lecture, of the seminar, right? So the lecture note you can still receive the lecture note. The question that you have today, but I won't be able to answer today. You can write me an email. And the email is already in the chat line. You can write me an email and ask the question for that. If I cannot answer, I will just point out to the source that you may find the answer. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you for the very good compliment. I hope that the session today is useful for everyone. And thank you for everyone for joining this afternoon. So with that, I'd like to end the seminar today. Thank you so much, everyone. Until the next time.